Hello and welcome to Granada Reports, live with the latest across the northwest.
Hello there. On the programme this evening,
putting on a brave face in Bolton, have Labour, who needed big gains at the local elections, underperformed at the polls.
We can do on all our leaflets, we can say, don't vote for the Tories, they're absolutely awful. But you've got to give people a reason to vote Labour.
5 healthcare staff are charged with mistreating patients at Blackpool Victoria Hospital. We'll be live with the latest.
Introducing the Melanin Markets, the event celebrating the best of black business and culture.
Just one highlight of a massive sporting weekend. Can St Helens hang on to the Women's Rugby League Challenge Cup?
And here's Benny and the Bluebells. Sounds like a band, but it's Linda Jones' resident squirrel having its breakfast. It's going to get a dry breakfast the next couple of mornings. Full forecast a little later on.
Well, first tonight, and it needed to be a strong showing by Labour at the local elections, but the big gains they needed failed to materialise.
The Conservatives feared Partygate and the cost of living would count against them. But Labour's gains in London and everywhere in the country weren't repeated here, in the heart of the so-called Red Wall, where they really need to pick up votes ahead of the next general election.
The latest figures we have show Labour gained only one new council in Rosendale, but they lost control to Hyndburn to no overall control.
The Tories did lose seats, but held the one town hall they controlled in Pendle. The Lib Dems made gains in Stockport and won power in the new council in Cumbria. We'll be analysing those numbers very soon after this report from our political correspondent, Leisha McNally.
It began with a brave face in Bolton, Labour cheering as they gained 2 seats. But it wasn't enough to win them the largest share on the council, in a night where they struggled to make the kind of impact that could deliver a Red Wall revival.
All the reports I read is that we were going to lose it. This was going to be Labour's big gain. It was one of the first results of the night. It was going to show Labour were powering through. Well, they're not. They've not taken a single Conservative seat. They've taken a couple of seats that they've had for years. This is no sign of a Labour revival in the north.
Little sign of it in council terms anyway. Of the 6 which were under no overall control across our region, Labour only gained 1, leaving the party in places like Bolton facing a big question. If not now, when?
I'm a little disappointed that we didn't make a bigger breakthrough. We've got a great manifesto, bold manifesto, deliverable manifesto, and we've tried to campaign positively. You know, we can do on all our leaflets, we can say, don't vote for the Tories, they're absolutely awful. But you've got to give people a reason to vote Labour.
And people in Bolton told us they hadn't heard enough from any party on issues like the cost of living crisis.
Obviously the intention is to help the more working class, the people who are struggling, but I don't think that people don't have that much confidence in them. They say all the right things, but I don't think a lot of people don't believe they can live up to it.
I don't believe people are Bolton lately. They're never satisfied with anything.
Nobody's doing anything really, not to help the average person out, nothing to help the NHS.
It was, of course, Labour who had most to prove in our region and most to defend. They held on to the majority of their councils, gaining seats in places like Chorley, Sefton, Trafford and Wigan. Though there were some shocks too. Hyndburn Council went from Labour to no overall control. In Oldham, they lost 5 seats, including that of the former council leader, Arooj Shah. And there's now a very narrow gap on Wirral after Green Gains blocked Labour's hopes of an outright majority on the council. As for the Conservatives, some thought today might have put the Prime Minister in the doghouse when it comes to our local MPs if the Partygate scandal reached North West ballot boxes. But they weren't too punished in Pendle, the only Conservative council in the North West. They lost 2 seats, but kept control.
Absolutely brilliant for us. And I think the message from that is, look, we've got some real hard-working councillors here in Pendle. We've focused on the local issues, and we'll continue to serve our residents to the best of our ability.
In Stockport, Sir Ed Davies' visit paid off. The Liberal Democrats picked up 2 seats, now more comfortably the largest party on the council. Behind-the-scenes negotiations will now decide if they take minority control away from Labour, adding to a growing council count across the country.
You see, the Liberal Democrats are winning across the country again.
Nationally, today's results do paint a more difficult picture for the Prime Minister. But with a general election 2 years away, there's still everything for all parties to play for across the North West. Leisha McNally, ITV News.
Last night was certainly fascinated. Well, I'm delighted to say that Leisha is here, and also one of our big political brains here in the region, Professor Andrew Russell, Head of Politics at the University of Liverpool. Professor, really good to see you. Thank you for joining us on the show. Just looking at what the Labour leader had to say earlier on today about these local elections, he said that, quote, they are a big turning point for us. Do you think he's right?
Well, incrementally, you could see that Labour have made progress. But the problem that Labour would have is that at this point, they would, with the cost of living crisis, with Partygate, with the kind of travails of the Conservative regime, Labour nationally would be hoping to look like the government in waiting. And these results have shown, I think, that whilst Labour have made modest progress, they've failed to really cut through. So whilst the results have been bad for the government overall, across the nation, not just in our region, Labour have not really made the gains that they would have hoped to make, whatever the kind of public story is.
And do you agree with that Bolton councillor who said that we're telling them not to vote Conservative, but we're not giving them reason to vote for us?
I think it's pretty hard to find that as that's a pretty irresistible story, I think, because you can see how the government are in trouble. Although locally, the Conservative vote held up fairly well in some places where they would have expected to have been in real problem. The Liberal Democrats did quite well in our region. If you look at the new Westmoreland authority, and if you look in Stockport and the Cheadle constituencies, you could see that the Lib Dems managed to fight a very effective campaign against the Conservatives. Labour, with the odd exception, really didn't make the kind of grounds that you would have expected them to have made under these conditions.
Leisha, you've got some results that are coming in the last few moments or so. What can you tell us?
Yes, just to amp up the drama of today, a very late declaration. It's Bury, and it's a big one. Every single seat up for grabs, both the Conservatives and Labour really gunning for this one. Counting's underway as we speak. We'll be able to show you those pictures now, I think. And there are quite a lot of ones to count because of the amount of seats that are coming back. They have elected a Labour council for more than a decade, but returned 2 Conservative MPs in 2019. One, of course, has since dramatically defected to Labour, Christian Wakeford, and the big question is how many voters will follow him. So it's a big test for Keir Starmer in terms of has his leadership managed to win back some of the trust that was lost under Jeremy Corbyn. But there's also a lot of levelling up money going into that region. So the Conservatives will be wanting to see, well, how does that translate into vote and support? All in all, many good reasons to pay close attention to Bury. We don't have a final result yet, but we'll get it online just as soon as we know it.
And interesting results from Cumbria too.
That's right. We've got a brand new council for our viewers in Cumbria. They've scrapped the old system of the district authorities doing some services, the county council doing others. Now we've just got Westmoreland and Furness Council, and it's Liberal Democrat. Absolutely stormed to victory where they took 36 of the 65 seats. That's even better than they expected, and they'll be really, really happy with that.
Andrew, just very quickly, a lot of talk about what this means for the coming general election. I mean, does this have any indication of what we may see when that general election eventually happens?
It's a good baseline. It's the best information we had. It's a series of national contests, national polls. You could aggregate them up, but it's not a general election. These seats, for the most part, were last contested in 2018, not last year. And between now and then, of course, we've had that general election where the Conservatives got an overall majority of 80. They're the best information we have, but they're not a mini general election.
Professor Andrew Russell and Leisha McNally, both bright after a long night. Thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Well, next, 5 healthcare staff have been charged in connection with the ill treatment of patients at Blackpool Victoria Hospital.
Yes, it follows an investigation which started almost 5 years ago into alleged offences committed by staff in the stroke unit. Our reporter Victoria Grimes is at Blackpool Victoria now. Victoria, what more can you tell us?
Well, Gamal, they are, of course, extremely worrying allegations that we're hearing here in Blackpool this evening, and ones that Lancashire police say affect many families. Now, we understand that concerns were first raised with the Hospital Trust back in November 2018, and a police investigation, what's been described as a major and complex police investigation, was launched into the care of elderly and often vulnerable patients on the stroke unit here at the hospital. Now, we're told that 3 nurses and 2 healthcare assistants are charged with offences including ill treatment, that's relating to unlawful sedation of patients, and also theft and supply of medication. That was over a 4-year period between August 2014 and November 2018. Now, the hospital say they've cooperated fully with police throughout the investigation. They'll continue to do so. They say that they're working to support staff and colleagues here at the hospital, and also they want to reassure both patients and their families about the care that they are receiving. They've said that people can be reassured that there's constant reviews going on, and everything that can be done has been done to make sure that patients are safe. Now, Lancashire Police say the investigation remains ongoing. They're supporting families who are involved. They say that the safety of the public remains their absolute priority, and everyone, they said, should be safe in hospital to receive the care they need and to be treated with dignity and respect. They're asking anyone with any information to come forward. The 5 people who've been charged are due before magistrates in Blackpool on the 31st of May.
Victoria Grimes in Blackpool, thank you.
In other news today, and the controversial former Chief Constable of Greater Manchester, James Anderton, has died aged 89. Sir James had been dubbed God's cop because of his outspoken views on AIDS and prostitution. He led GMP between 1975 and 1991.
The trial has begun of a teenage boy accused of the murder of 12-year-old Ava White in Liverpool. Ava was stabbed in November last year after visiting Liverpool city centre with friends to watch the Christmas lights being turned on. A 14-year-old boy, who can't be named because of his age, is charged with murder and possessing an offensive weapon. The prosecution will open its case on Monday.
The official launch has taken place for this year's Run for the 97, a 5K fun run which honours the victims of the Hillsborough disaster and their families who campaigned for justice. It's the 8th time the event has been held at Stanley Park near Anfield. It'll raise money for good causes, including Jamie Carragher's 23 Foundation. The run will take place on Saturday, the 21st of May.
To see the community getting together, you know, red, blue, it's absolutely wonderful. And I think it's been away now for a couple of years, and the people have missed it, so they'll be so looking forward to all being together again. And I think it's great to see the city united like that.
It's going to mean a lot, you know, that a lot of people within the city are coming together for this run, and the fact that we can get something out of it in terms of our charity, we'll then put that back into the city and the community. You know, it's fantastic for us, but as I said, a big thank you and a big shout out to everyone who's going to help us and help, you know, the 97 in the run as well.
Yeah. Good luck to everyone who's taking part in that. Now, for a quick look at what's coming up on the ITV News at 6:30 with Charlene.
Local election results are still coming in. We'll have the latest on what's happening where you are. Labour made gains in historically safe Conservative London boroughs, but have they done well enough outside of the capital? We'll have all the details. Well, any joy for the Labour leader was dampened as Durham police say they will investigate Keir Starmer over potential lockdown breaches. And Prince Andrew and Prince Harry are not invited. The Queen reveals she will be on the balcony for her Platinum Jubilee, but only the working royals will be alongside her. Join us for those stories and more from 6:30.
Well, next, and the figures show businesses run by black entrepreneurs are less profitable and get less support than those run by white owners.
2 women are setting out to change that with Melanin Markets, a pop-up in Manchester. And it's at that great historic centre of trading, the Royal Exchange. Tasha Kachiri went to see them setting up.
The banners are up, the last stages of planning in full swing. Melanin Markets is taking over the Royal Exchange in Manchester this weekend. Boasting 50 black-owned businesses, the market is the brainchild of Bianca and Kelly. that aim to promote black businesses and black culture.
We are trying to provide a space that embraces black joy now. So we don't always have to talk about the trauma. We can also have moments of just feeling like golden.
Yeah.
And you know,
With everyone.
Yeah, we want everyone to come in on that.
Yeah, we don't want people to think of blackness as struggle and trauma. We want people to walk into this building and see black joy.
But studies show there can be barriers to success. A 2020 report by the British Business Bank says after starting a business, black business owners earn on average £10,000 less than their white counterparts. They also have worse outcomes than other minority ethnic groups and lower success rates overall than white entrepreneurs.
Every time I talked to a black business owner or black-owned businesses, it was always access to finance. That was the hugest issue. And just building relationships with banks, getting bank accounts, getting credit cards. Yeah, getting approval for finance is very, very challenging for black-owned businesses in the Northwest.
The women want to change that and give black business owners the tools to succeed.
You don't know where to start. You don't see people in your community doing what you imagine. Representation is key. So if you don't see it, how do you know that you can step into it?
We want to skill share and equip other black businesses, as we might not necessarily have grown up with a parent who had their own business with first-hand knowledge. So I think this is like a really nice vehicle to be able to, you know, give people the foundations to fly.
The Royal Exchange will be filled with vibrant music, food, drink, art and so much more.
So we've got puff and beans with sriracha spring onions. We've got
amazing.
Yes, oh my god. These puffs everybody loves.
Guafu started her small business, Guafu Vegan, during lockdown. She's a regular at traditional markets but says this pop-up is special.
It's great to actually showcase my food within my community. I feel like I don't really need to explain myself, really. It's kind of like we set up and we showcase and give people food that they know and be able to give back home to other people. It's amazing.
Bianca and Kelly want people from all backgrounds to come along and experience the joy. Tasha Kachiri, ITV News, Manchester.
I can't think of anywhere better to mooch around a market than the Royal Exchange. Get down there this weekend.
That view looked amazing as well.
I know.
Made me hungry.
Time for sport now. And it was definitely Liverpool's week in Europe. How will Manchester City respond in the title race? Here's Mike.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to find out, isn't it? Can Manchester City pick themselves up after their dramatic European exit and keep the defence of their Premier League crown firmly on track? Here's the top of the table with just 4 games to go now. City 1 point above Liverpool. The Reds are at home to Tottenham tomorrow. City host Newcastle on Sunday. Pep Guardiola says he hasn't yet spoken to his players about their midweek defeat to Real Madrid in the Champions League semi-finals. Jurgen Klopp, though, is now looking forward to a repeat of the 2018 final, but hopefully this time it'll be a Liverpool win.
Yeah, it will be great. So that we were not happy that night, that's clear. But that's a while ago. But yeah, I'm happy to go there and give it a try.
No words can help to feel what all of us we can feel. So it's just a question of time. Try to sleep as best as possible and think the new target.
Well, at the bottom of the Premier League, Everton, Burnley and Leeds are battling it out for survival. Burnley are at home to Aston Villa tomorrow. Everton are at Leicester on Sunday.
I haven't really focused a lot on the table. I honestly mean that. I know it may sound a bit strange, but I haven't. I know if you're picking up points, you're going to be moving in the right direction. And that's, if you start looking at all the permutations and stuff, you can end up, that just takes your focus away from what you're trying to do.
Through tough times, you are judged about how you fight back from them and get to all success. We want to get a short-term result, which is to stay in the league, and that's crucial for us. And then look at what successes hopefully we can work towards after that. And at the moment, we don't know what they look like.
Now, this could be a huge weekend for Stockport County Football Club. A win away to their promotion rivals Wrexham on Sunday will see them crowned National League champions and promoted to the Football League 11 years on from the crushing disappointment of losing their league status.
to still be here now with an incredible supporter base who have been through those times, been to places where you think, is there really a football club here? You know, small villages in the middle of nowhere. But it's been very humbling, and it makes you realise just how important being in the Football League is.
We'll kick on again in League Two and keep going again. We're not just going to settle for League Two and settle a League Two club. The chairman's got ambitions, the club's got ambitions, the fans, the players. It's a very ambitious club, and we won't settle till we get where we want to be.
It's the final weekend of the Women's Super League season, and it's a straight fight between Manchester City and United for a top 3 finish and a place in the Champions League. United are at Chelsea, City at Reading. In the week, goalkeeper Karen Bardsley's announced her retirement.
Being at City for 8.5, 9 years has been an enormous part of my career. There's a lot of really great moments just watching the game grow. You know, walking down the street and seeing loads of girls in football kits, seeing it on TV, in commercials, you know, and seeing that perception change. Like, that's been something I feel really proud of.
On to rugby union now, and Sale Sharks face French side Racing 92 on Sunday in the quarter-finals of the European Champions Cup. While in rugby league, it's the semi-finals of the Challenge Cup as reigning holders St Helens take on arch rivals Wigan. The prize for the winners, a trip to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for the final.
You know, I don't know you can get Wigan Saints games any bigger, but, you know, you put it into a semi-final, it adds that little bit of spice to it, so exciting challenge.
If we can play to our potential and get ourselves to a Challenge Cup final, where it's played obviously helps and adds to it, but the occasion of a Challenge Cup final is the main thing, and we want to be a part of those big games.
Well, before that match in Leeds, it's the final of the Women's Challenge Cup as the reigning holders St Helens take on Leeds Rhinos.
We try and embrace every moment. These opportunities weren't here a few years ago for the women, so to get to do it, for the club to be there with the men as well, I think just adds to the occasion. I think it just means there's a big, massive buzz around the club, and we just want to be part of that and make sure we do the business on the day.
Getting that winning feeling. FOW, sponsors of the Granada Sport Report.
Next to a big announcement for fans of the Manchester Storm ice hockey team. It is our great pleasure on Granada Reports to exclusively reveal the identity of your new head coach. It's someone Storm supporters know very well. Former goalie Matt Ginn has been given the job after retiring from playing. He's been at the club since 2018.
Very excited. It's a tremendous opportunity and I can't wait to get started. I love it here. Love Manchester. The fans are awesome, so it was easy to keep coming back. The city itself is great now. My fiance and I are here, and we both love it.
So you here to stay?
Yeah, hopefully for now, yeah.
And you can hear lots more from Storm's new head coach on our website. Finally, to a very special football match taking place this weekend in support of former player Len Johnrose. Len, who played for Bury, Burnley and Blackburn Rovers, has motor neuron disease. On Sunday, his old teammates and some soap stars are playing at Chorley's Victory Park ground, raising money for Len's charity and also for the Rosemere Cancer Foundation. It's a 2 o'clock kickoff. Get down there if you can and show some love for a great man. That is your sport tonight.
Great cause too, Mike. Thanks very much for that.
Now, when actor Melissa Johns was hacked and explicit photos of her were leaked online, she said she cried for days.
She hated her body and shorter right arm, but then came the moment she decided to own the story and turn it into a one-woman play.
She's also set a challenge for the creative industries to pledge to put disabled artists centre stage.
Melissa's been chatting to our correspondent Elaine Wilcox at the Lowry Theatre, where her play Snatched premieres next week.
So I go onto the porn sites where Nikki says my photos are. And the first thing I notice is that my photo's next to Jennifer Lawrence's, and I think, wow, my photo's next to Jennifer Lawrence's. I must have really made it. And then I think, oh, my photo's next to Jennifer Lawrence's. She's all hot and two-armed.
So Snatched is about an horrific event, but you've decided to own it and you're telling this story on stage.
We live in a world where we are constantly having an opinion on everyone's body. And I've grown up with every single person having an opinion on the way I look. So let's make a comedy show about it and see what happens.
And this show is also about tackling some of the taboos about body shaming and disability in sex.
People either think that we don't have romantic lives or sex lives, or it goes the other way and people think that you only exist to be some fetish or something that just exists for other people.
What was the moment when you became comfortable with your body? Because you say for years you hated your shorter limb, you tried to hide it.
Yeah, I would get to dates early and I would act as if I had two arms, because quite often if I'd never met them before they wouldn't know that I only had, you know, that I didn't have my right arm. And that just became really draining, just saying I was going to the toilet when really I was asking the chef to cut my food up before it came out. And the thing that changed it for me was my granddad, he bought his first video camera in 1990, which was the year I was born, and he documented like my whole life. And when I saw this little girl on the screen, I filled up with so much emotion, because I thought, I'm not giving you the life you deserve. I'm hiding you away. I'm embarrassed of you. And look at you, you don't deserve that. You deserve so much better. So we go down the aisle where all the newspapers are, and there it is, the Ledbury Reporter, and there I am on the front page. The headline reads, "Girl with one arm rides bike." And there's a photo on the front of me and everything.
So away from this show, you are the co-lead with Triple C and the Disabled Artists Networking Community, and you've just won a BAFTA and set a challenge for the industry.
What would next year's BAFTAs look like if every single person in this room tonight put disability centre stage? The knock-on effect that seeing more deaf, disabled and neurodivergent people on our screens and stages will have to the whole of society is huge. What it will do is it will allow people who maybe own a shop, own a small business, anything like that, where they can suddenly look at their own teams of people and think, oh my gosh, have I made sure that checking in with people's access requirements, have I been open enough to be able to kind of employ disabled people? It will change the way that we are treated in society.
And the Lowry Theatre has been a big part of making this happen, and that's why you wanted to premiere here.
This show was meant to go on in 2020. 2 years later, we're finally putting it in front of its first audience, and the Lowry have been with me every step of the way, and I couldn't be any more thankful.
I can't wait to see it. Melissa Johns, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, what a great chat.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, for the weekend weather, here's Kerry.
Now that is brew weather.
And only boiling what she needs.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Big up you, sis.
Hello, good evening. It went downhill slowly today from the northwest, but the Lovell telescope still looking magnificent against the cloudy skies earlier on today at Jodrell Bank. A big thank you to Steve Mulville for the shot. And Ian Webster's allium will get a watering, at least today, but not much water in the forecast as we head into the weekend. Sunny spells with just a few showers tomorrow, mostly dry by Sunday, and feeling quite nice and warm where we get any sunny spells. So high pressure replaces that front we've had today for Saturday, Sunday, and most of Monday actually, but later Monday into Tuesday and Wednesday, tighter isobars, stronger winds and the high risk of showers, at least for the first half of next week. So for this evening, not great, cloudy skies, outbreaks of rain, spiralling and sinking southwards, but after midnight it becomes dry, clear, a lot quieter, the winds lighter, maybe with 1 or 2 mist and fog patches, and nothing too chilly, maybe a 4 or 5 in rural spots by dawn. There is sometimes as we head into the weekend, 5:24 and 8:52. So a dry start tomorrow, a bright start with some sunshine, a little bit of patchy cloud, morning mist and fog lifting. Into the afternoon, slightly higher risk of some patchy cloud and 1 or 2 showers, but where we get the sunny spells, above the average for the time of year. At best, we'd expect a 15, possibly 16 Celsius for Cheshire, so highs of around 19, not too bad at all. And the likelihood of the Isle of Man could stay dry all day. Most of those showers will ease off as we head into Saturday evening, and then for Sunday, mostly dry and bright, good sunny spells, light winds and decent temperatures holding on at least for the first half of Monday, then a bit more unsettled as we head into Tuesday. Have a lovely weekend.